Well, guys, as you know, Ranked is going to be coming out May 8th, and it's also going to be bringing a weapon that will be a hell of a grind. Gigs actually mentioned that it will take you approximately 30 days to actually get to Fable ranking, to get this weapon, playing 5 to 6 hours a day. Most of you are saying that is a crazy fucking grind, and I do agree that it is a grind, but a grind that we need. We need weapons worth going after, worth achieving, and I can tell you right now, I'm going to be going after. I loaded up into Crucible yesterday, though, because I wanted to play as a solo queue player in competitive. Because the question everyone is asking, is this going to be even possible for people to obtain as solo queue players? And I will mention this, it will definitely be a more difficult task for you as a solo player above all things. There will not be a lone wolf setting for this. You will at times get matched up against other teams. I know Bungie has said that they're refining matchmaking to where stack teams will verse stack teams more often, but I really believe that at times, depending on the player population, you will find yourself maybe not as necessarily against teams of 4, but maybe teams of 3 or teams of 2, which even teams of 2 can make all the difference in these type of settings. Essentially, with no radar, communication and callouts are everything. These were my experiences yesterday, though, playing no radar solo queue. Now, I actually was matching up against some of my clanmates because they were also in it, but we were not talking. We were not in the same party chat. But let's talk about what was generating the most success for me yesterday throughout all of this. Right off the bat, guys, when you load into a game, I highly suggest hitting your touchpad or your option pad there on Xbox and hitting over on your D-pad, the right D-pad button. This will enable team chat. Now, unfortunately, I was under the impression that the moment I hit team chat, everyone would be able to hear me, but no, everyone has to be on the same audio frequency. So you will all need to be on team chat together. If you are on default, which is automatically fire team chat, you will not hear the person you are playing with because they are not in your fire team. This is a bunch of blueberries together. So in order for you guys to be able to communicate and talk, go to team chat. I know communication is not necessarily something you want to do, and I'm not saying it was entirely necessary throughout all of this, but there was many times when I got killed maybe by an Acreus or by a certain specific weapon by a camper. Boy, it would have been nice to be able to just immediately tell a friend, hey, look out right there, he's coming for you. And so little things like that will enable you to get even closer to victory. The second change I had to do was I had to get off of Sunbreaker. Now, Sunbreaker is my favorite class in this game. I love it. But let's be real about the Sunbreaker. If someone was to rush me, what do I have? I don't necessarily have anything with good neutral game. I've got a shield, but by the time I pop my shield, especially against a good player, I'm already down to a quarter health, maybe even half health, and he can just melee me through my shield. My super is completely reliant on my radar. Yes, I can pop my super and see what's in front of me and go from there, but for the most part, the animation can get me killed. The single animation of a hammer is long enough for a 10 mobility hunter with stompies to get the fuck out of the way and run for the hills. On top of that, I don't have a radar to indicate where that guy just went. And so unless I am very preemptive about my super drops, it's very hard for me to get my super out and get a kill. This is something very apparent for a lot of different supers. I find that Gunslinger is kind of in the same scenario that Sunbreaker is. Maybe even worse because Gunslinger doesn't last as long. Hammers, on top of that, good players are able to evade your hammer throws. Now, I'm not saying that they invade it completely, but, a lot of times I'll see a hunter dodge out of my hammer and they'll only take half damage. Little things like that is enough time for them to just gun you down. I did not feel comfortable on Sunbreaker. And by the way, I know some of you guys have definitely seen me play Sunbreaker a bunch. I still love it. Still my favorite class in quick play. But in a no radar setting, especially given the fact that Sunbreaker has some of the worst neutral game in the game, I cannot reliably use it in this type of setting. So Striker is where I'm at, and it's bottom tree Striker is where I'm going with. I'm rocking Doom Marcher still because I still want to move quickly, and I'm also rocking bottom tree because it does enable me to get a swift melee off on people after breaking their shields. Now again, you only get one grenade, but that's alright. I'm dealing with that. The thing about the super, it's not a super that you're going to get a team wipe with. You're just not. Striker would get gunned down. Again, you're going against good players, and if you're going to be in the ranked playlist, you will continuously go up against good players as you inch forward and get closer and closer to this weapon. So Good players will back the fuck up and gun you the hell down before you ever get close to them with something like a striker. Striker is not like pole dancer. We don't have an option to just dodge infinitely and get to you. But where striker comes in is, yes, I'm using it as a panic. No, it's not quite the radius of panic slam that we had back in D1, but it's utilized for what I need it to be used for, which is mainly survival. I've got someone behind me with an accuracy. I need to go ahead and get the slam off. Hopefully I can catch him before he gets the shot off. If I got someone meleeing me or something like that, I can get the slam off immediately and go from there. So these class changes are going to be something that's going to get you out of your comfort zone. I quit trials a few weeks ago specifically because I could not utilize Sunbreaker in the way I wanted to utilize it. It's still a phenomenal class, but given the scenarios that you're in, given the animation that takes so long for you to come out of your hammers, when you're playing players that know how to play you definitely start to see the weaknesses of these classes. Now let's talk about weapons. This is some weird loadouts you're seeing right here. I rocked a little Allegro yesterday. I rocked some DFA. If it was a close-up map and I was playing more Death Volley with my team, I would go with hand cannon SMG. And that's if you've got superb communication. If you are running with a team that you all aggressively push together and you're constantly death balling, which is the meta, you would rock maybe a loadout like that. For me yesterday, playing with blueberries, playing more of the anchor out there because I'm kind of playing more janitor. You know what I mean? I'm holding a point. I'm holding power. I felt more comfortable with Jade Rabbit. Now, I know some of you probably don't know why I would use a Jade Rabbit over something like a Mida. I still think Jade is a fantastic scout rifle. It takes people by surprise. And in a no radar situation where you've got a high impact weapon, man, it can really pick people off quickly before they know how to react. And of course, they will try to tangle up with you for just a second. They might have a scout rifle or something, or maybe even a pulse rifle, a vigilance wing. A lot of people are very comfortable with their vigilance wing, but if you're right outside of that vigilance wing territory, which is not necessarily that far, you'll eat them up with these high impact scout rifles. But Jade specifically is fantastic. I don't know what changes are coming to it in May. Hopefully some good ones. But I'm rocking something like Jade, which is obviously a weapon that will govern everything in the long range for me. And then up close, I swap between either like stochastic or I go between a hand cannon, depending on how the players are playing against me. If I've got a lot of last hope rushers, I will swap to an SMG because it's just the only way I know how to deal with last hope. There will be a lot of last hope users in this ranked playlist. I can promise you it will probably be one of the most common weapon type you will see. But like if I'm going against an SMG and I know that I can stay outside of its range, I would try to use hand cannon more. They're not necessarily going to get the jump on me too much. Hopefully depending on my strafe and my skills, I would be able to outplay them and still get the kill off. And Allegro is a great choice, by the way, guys, if you're looking for a solid energy hand cannon. And DFA, I think it's the best hand cannon you can get now. For the kinetic slot, I think it's even better than Better Devils. I know a lot of people still use Better Devils, not saying that you can't use it, but DFA is the best feeling hand cannon I have used thus far in this game. So those are the weapon choices in terms of energy and kinetic. Those are the subclass choices, and of course communication is everything, so I highly suggest using team chat. As far as power goes, I still don't see snipers being utilized that much as of right now. I know that they're making some flinch changes. I recently just made a huge change in my sensitivity. I've been rocking the same sensitivity out for years, but increased it greatly. A lot of people were asking questions why I increased my sensitivity, and it's honestly because hunters at 10 mobility can jump high so quickly. They can jump over your head so quickly. If there was a way within consoles that we could adjust vertical sensitivity, I would have rather left my horizontal sensitivity at maybe a 4 or a 3 and then up my vertical sensitivity around a 7 or an 8. Unfortunately, there is no way to do that on consoles, so the only thing I've been able to do here lately is just outright up my sensitivity to around 6 or 7 and adjust. This is the only way I've been able to keep up with players that are constantly utilizing their verticality. These are the kind of players you're going to go up against. But in terms of power, shotguns to me are really good. Fusion rifles are really good if you can be preemptive enough to know where people are coming around corners, especially if you're good on cues from your teammates. Sound cues are not strong enough in this game for me to say it it is the best way to actually judge where someone is. You can kind of hear where they're at, especially when they're jumping. But outside of that, a lot of people, especially in no radar, they'll tend to play a little more campy. So there's someone sitting in a corner. You come around the side with your fusion. They start shooting you with the last hope. You don't have enough time to turn around unless they just outright missed a couple bursts. You do not have enough time to turn around and shoot them with your fusion, which is where shotguns come in, which is why I think shotguns is really good. I've seen some people use Warcliffe Coil, but the reason why I'm saying you don't want to get so used to using things like Acreus and Warcliffe Coil and that power slot is because the exotics that are coming in the May update are going to be so strong. You really don't want to use up your exotic slot for those power weapons, despite it being a turn of the fight. If you've got guns like Crimson and Graviton Lance, Vigilance Wing Steel, and Skyburner's Oath, and a number of other exotics that are very dominant. So as far as Acreus, Colony, Warcliffe Coil, I would make it almost a mental note right now to start weaning yourself off of it. Quit getting used to using them. Quit, even in quick play, guys, you want to quit using those guns because, again, the exotics are going to be really deadly coming this May, and you're going to be hurting yourself by being so reliant on the kill range and kill potential of an Acreus or even a Warcliffe Coil or even Colony. So, again, get used to not having those weapons on hand. Hand-in-hand shotgun is one that I like to use a bunch. Fusion's main ingredient is still a solid one. I'm testing out a few other legendaries that have been really good. I've rocked Telesto for a really long time, but again, weaning myself off of Telesto to prepare for May. I know all of these things are like, holy shit, man. Why are you being so analytical about this? I'm being this way because this lobby is about to get so sweaty, especially if we're going from a ranked to ranked matchmaking. Now, there's going to be a lot more people in competitive now than ever before, and that's good. I like to see more people in it. Unfortunately, with the no radar changes, things like my Sunbreaker class, I can't utilize as much anymore, and that's really unfortunate. And, I wish that Bungie would have put a modified radar system in it. My biggest thing is I wish we had our radar, but it only pinged up maybe from gunfire, and it only pinged up when someone was standing still. There's been a lot of players that I've seen the most optimal strategy from them is to sit in a certain spot and wait for you to push past them and for them to last hope you. And with a certain time to kill in this game, especially with last hope being as forgiving as it is, it's so difficult to deal with those players. I'm not saying that you can't. Again, that's where things like buddy system comes into play. That's where things like pushing together or even subclasses with good neutral game to immediately turn around, throw a grenade, get some AoE damage in them, and then hopefully finish them off. That's where Sunbreaker and me kind of drifted apart. The best instant grenade I have on a Sunbreaker is a thermite grenade. Outside of that, incendiary grenades require placement and they're not that good. And thermite grenades are really good, but they're really wonky. Sometimes they go right where you want them to go, and other times they'll peel off in some strange direction. But either way, there is a couple milliseconds there where it takes for a thermite grenade to activate, and there's also a couple seconds there for your incendiary grenade to activate. So you are already dead. So having classes with good neutral game to me are more important. Again, there's Pole Dancer, which already has good neutral game, but it simultaneously has a great super. And so there's the best of both worlds in that situation. But outside of that, guys, that's my thoughts on competitive playing solo queue. I can promise you these things will help you. Choosing your weapon loadouts are not necessarily me saying you need to choose a Jade Rabbit and an SMG or a Jade Rabbit and a hand cannon. What I'm simply trying to say is play to your playstyle a little more. If you're going to anchor up more, use weapons that require you to anchor. A scout rifle, a high impact scout would do really good for you. Hand cannon enables you to not overly pursue. It keeps your distance a little more. And then if you're going to play more aggressive, more dominant, more death balling, go with a hand cannon SMG loadout. Fellas, my thoughts on it. I know this was a long video. Did not mean for this to get long, but this is going to be something I think a lot of you guys are probably going to be looking into because everyone's going to want this weapon. It's going to be a nasty gun. I envision it to be be almost on the level of Hopscotch Pilgrim. I know it's not going to be that fast, but I think we're going to be looking at some deadly stuff from it, and it's going to make people envious whenever you start getting killed by it, rightfully so, and it's going to really push people to play more in this playlist, and I want to enable my subscribers to have the best edge possible. Guys, thank you so much for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.
So let's get closer.